3 entries were judged winners in the public, interior and industrial architecture category. There was no award for the landscape and the research category. The winning projects reflect a variety of approaches and attitudes towards space, function and technology, from brick and mortar to glass and steel, from natural climatic response to computerized comfort control, from sports. The jury liked the sensitive way he handled the site, narrow and odd-shaped, with interlocking spaces and creative use of textures in stone, timber and glass. Welcome, Shahrukh. The second winner, in practice since 1969, he has done numerous residences, housing complexes and commercial buildings. He is also involved with academics and is on the panel of several government and semi-government bodies. Welcome, Anand. The winning architects are members Manit Rastogi and Sonali Rastogi. Both are graduates of the SPA, both are AIIAs, and the third member of the partnership is Pradeep Ghosh. I will now call upon Manit and Sonali to come and receive the award. The architects have used contemporary materials and design in an innovative manner while keeping the plans simple and well articulated. The internal environment appears sensitive to the scale of the public building of this size. Manit and Sonali both graduated from SPA Delhi and did their masters at the Architecture Association, London. And they also both worked with Ram Sharma, so you know how they are together. And Manit is also involved with academics. They set up Morphogenesis Architect Studio. And Pradeep Ghosh is a graduate of SPA with experience in Kuwait, Jakarta, and he's a third team member. Manit? Yeah, Manit? Manit, please come. I think Sonali wants to represent all the team. Okay, Manit and Pradeep, please come. The Industrial Architecture Award goes to Iqbal Chani of Pune for the Times of India Press at Pune. He graduated in 1968 and did his post-graduation at the AA London. He worked in London and lived here till 1980, in 20 years. He has installed ISO quality management systems in his office. He also won the IIS Snowson Award in 1984. For interior architecture, the award goes to Renu Mistry, who happens to be Shahrukh Mistri's wife. This happens to be, they have a different practice. For the Gravy Check Bar at AST, Bangalore. And now we'll have a group photograph.
I would like to request all the office bearers of Indian Institute of Architects to come to the desk for the group photograph. Architect Vinay Parelkar, our Senior Vice President. Architect Mohan Das, Junior Vice President. Architect Paresh Kapadia, Joint Honorary Secretary. And Architect Patrick Montero, Joint Honorary Secretary.
Give me that side.
Well, on this occasion, we have published the June issue of the Journal of the Indian Institute of Architects, which carries all the award-winning projects. I would like our President to formally release the June issue of the JII. I'll request.
Actually, Savi has been with us for donkey's years. Or is it more? Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Savita Murthy Mystery.
Created a simple yet sophisticated floor plan which minimizes wall separation, concentrates on spatial flow, and achieves a connectedness to the exterior. We honed our vocabulary of materials to a minimum. The result is an emotional space of stone, glass, metal, of soaring spaces and dazzling light. Next. The entrance is up a flight of shallow steps set with an electric blue tile. A slab of stone reserved for the jamb of the entrance door cracked jaggedly during construction. Rather than discarding the stone, we
also for the fact that we had the scope of work was completely the whole project, right from its inception to even the interiors and the graphic design to the every last detail that this project was done by Morphogenesis. Then I'd really like to thank our studio, which comprises of about 15 very young architects, and this was the first project almost for all of us. And it's a very sentimental moment for us to get this award because it was. Okay. When we decided to design the Polo corporate headquarters, we sat together and reconsidered several significant aspects of the new workplace as is emerging today. It was to be an office that embodies all the essence of the modern office with respect to communications, self-sufficiency, high amount of flexibility and fluidity in space planning, human resource management, facility management, and of course a green and healthy environment was a definite prerequisite. This was also specifically because the Polo Tyres before this building was situated in a very crowded central business district of Nehru Place in Delhi. They were situated across 8 buildings, which made them impossible for them to function efficiently, and it was a very polluted environment. The entire sector. This reveals a building which was designed with a play of planes, solids, and voids. The building has a slightly unconventional planning in the sense that it has no formal entrance. There is almost no distinction between what is being treated as interior space and exterior space, and there is no beginning and end in the morphology of the building. The other thing which is noticeable about this project is that in some sense it's a state-of-the-art facility built with modern materials, but it uses a very arts and craft approach. It is an indicator of the globalization of design, IT and building industry in India. But the project has several firsts in innovation in terms of construction technique, interior detail, building intelligence, IT integration, and energy efficiency. One of the things that we really had to keep in mind, despite the use of building materials which were modern and new, that the Indian construction format had to be clearly understood and responded to. In evolving the design concept, we first looked to the site for clues, but the site was essentially an unremarkable blank field, and it was an empty and flat wasteland with almost no clues that could be used to develop a concept. And the primary design approach had to ensure that the project sat well within the conceptual, functional, and aesthetic framework of international, corporate, and contemporary design agendas. So we decided to establish a design system versus a design concept. It was a system which was based on dividing the site up into various striations. And these striations was used almost like a grid on which everything, including the plan and the detailing and construction, everything was based on these striations. There was no particular form or a particular sign or a contextual clue that was used.
What we attempted to do with this striation concept was to then try and manifest it in plan or on site itself. So if you can go to the next slide, please. The striation was broken up into several zones. I think what we did was we striped the building across the site, which formed. You have a public zone, you have internal activity zone, a social zone, which all sits across an environmental activity zone, which sits on the site. So there is one interactor zone which slices through the entire building, which is the spine. If you see this slide, the spine goes right across all the striations which form within the building, therefore giving you an experience of the entire building in one contextual zone. Carry on this next slide, please. The entry of the building acts from, it's a hidden entry. It's not an entry that which is very easily, let's say, not easily understood from the outside. It has to be something that is experienced. So you come into the building, which is here. This is the entry zone. You come in there and you enter the public striation, as we call it. This is the reception, and it leads off into the spine and the further striations of the building. Next, please. That's the reception area again, which leads to the executive wing and the public area and the reception. Next. This also houses your, it has certain public activity areas like the meeting areas, the executive lounge, etc. Next. This entire thing is layered over the environment zone, which was formed by courtyards, which sit through the whole project. Next. There's the whole site, as Sonali explained, was that you have the site, their context before they came here was one of sitting in Nehru Place. It was a very different atmosphere. They wanted something which was far more green, verdant, etc. So the whole building was sited on a green expanse and had to overlook all the green areas. That every zone had to be in interaction with the green areas. Next. Yeah, this is an example of how each striation comes out and sits in the green area, whereby leaving negatives which are also green within the building. Next. This is sitting inside now we come to the next zone in the building, which is the internal activity zone. It houses meeting rooms, office buildings, office areas, things like that. Next. This is an example of the office areas. So each detail was catered to within this. We had, when the office was commissioned to do this project, we had been given a free hand in detailing every zone, every area within the building. It was not as though we were given we were doing the architecture, the detailing was done by somebody else, in the sense that the interiors were done by somebody else, the art selection, etc. was done by the entire project had to be represented by us. So this is how it came through. The next zone that we come to is the social interactivity zone, which is actually manifested in the canteen areas and the auditorium. So this is the termination of the spine, which leads to the social interactivity zone, which is the cafeteria. Next. This, yeah. But each aspect of the design was carried down to the last detail of the project. We sat down, we had done a lot of R&D in order to achieve each of these minor details of this project. This particular staircase is actually the fire staircase. We actually had to fight with the client, like what they were seeing to begin with. But once this thing came up, this was considered the pièce de résistance of the project as it appeared. The stainless steel things had to be made once, then taken off and done again in order to get the finish that we wanted. It was the next one, please. There's another detail of that, of the stainless steel railing. Next. This is part of the executive wing, which has there's a glass bridge which connects on to the terrace gardens above, and you have this staircase leading off into the executive rooms, which are next slide. This is the executive lounge, which is again, if you see, the furniture selection was again by the firm. So we went and selected each of these pieces of furniture. We had this leads into the boardroom, which is behind, as you see the doors of the next one. And again, the next through the meeting rooms into the office space. So again, this entire staircase had to be prototyped. The thread details, etc., had to be prototyped. The glass had to be tested and then put together to form this. The entire exercise down to detail. We have the building intelligence system built into the project. These aspects which allow us to go through one project from beginning to one of the.
Okay, so we have a building here which is 100,000 square feet, consuming nearly 1300 kV of power. There is no hidden fact that energy consumption is obviously going to be one of the mainstays in our future projects. We looked at doing that in two ways. Primarily being a modern building, being a building with a lot of computer usage, server rooms, high IT requirements. It had to be a hermetically sealed building. By effect, it had to be also centrally air conditioned. So we thought about cutting down energy consumption in the building in two ways. One, by trying to screen off a lot of the glass that we were going to use, which was going to give transparency, by a secondary skin of solid planes, which you can probably see in the left slide here. So we have a set of solid planes which are inclined based on solar angles to cut off primary solar gain during summer months and letting solar penetration through the winter months. The second process that we used was of using building intelligence in terms of tying up all the services to the people, which basically means we used a car access system in about 25 zones in the building. So when a person would enter the building would sense where the person was and automatically trigger off the services of that particular area. We'll just go to the next slide, please. Right, now if you, this is an image taken at night. As the building knows where just about everyone is, it can identify the zones which it powers up. So as you can see, about 6 zones are turned down and 6 are left on. And this is done automatically by the building services system. Next slide. Other facilities were provided in the project, like remote dialing for service setup, telecommuting. We also introduced a feature called hoteling. Apollo Tyres has a very large workforce which is generally on the move. So about 50 to 60% of the people are either traveling or out of the country or at the plant. That would mean that if we kept the entire building infrastructure up and running, that would actually lead to a large consumption. So what would, for certain office floors where we had the transient people, we introduced a reception desk where they would come in and check in every day in the morning, and they would get assigned a workplace. So as the building would fill up, so would the service get triggered, and automatically the building would then decide as to how and when to apportion the energy resources available. You can just take the next slide, I think.
Another feature about this project was that, as I said, it took 24 hours of every single day, 18 months. It also took 1,200 drawings to put together this project. And as I said, it was drawn to the last piece of furniture, to the toilet paper dispenser was drawn. Every single thing was detailed and drawn and thought of. So, which is why it's a huge amount of teamwork that went to put together this project. Thank you.
Mr. Kulkarni from Roofit to come and give a presentation.
For having done a lot of hard work, because it was really a difficult.
Scan or something shot well, except your